In the south of China stands a city unlike any other. Its narrow streets press close, every inch of land claimed by crowded houses. Yet this city is celebrated for one thing. It is a city of scholars. Long-gowned students fill the thoroughfares, their pale faces and gleaming eyes marking them apart from the farmers and laborers who brush past them in the stifling heat. Outside the city gates, beyond the crowded houses, a great open space stretches toward distant towns and the far-off capital thousands of miles away. Along this road stand rows of memorial arches, each one erected to honor those who displayed extraordinary virtue. Travelers pause beneath their stone shadows to read the inscriptions, tales of heroes and devoted wives and self-sacrificing mothers whose deeds echo through the ages. But of all these arches, one draws more attention than any other. Its inscription bears no record of virtues, no name or title. Carved into the central stone are just 3 words: the wonderful man. Scholars puzzle over the cryptic phrase, walking round to find the same enigmatic words repeated. Farmers laugh and joke about its meaning as they pass. No explanation is ever given. The story behind this inscription is one of the most heartbreaking in Chinese folklore. Years before, in a village beyond the hills, a family of 3 lived in a tiny home: a husband, wife, and young son. They were happy, except for one sorrow. They were exceedingly poor, surviving on a few small fields that barely yielded enough sweet potatoes to keep body and soul together. One terrible night, a storm of savage fury descended upon their shanty. Wind howled and rain thundered against the thin walls while evil spirits wailed in the darkness. The husband lay burning with fever, his face gray, his lips pale. His wife lit the tiny oil wick and peered into his sunken features. A wan smile flickered across his face, and with a long-drawn sigh, he slipped away forever. The funeral swallowed everything the family possessed. Even their tiny fields had to be sold. The widow was left destitute, alone with her small son in a world that offered nothing. Everyone told her the only course was to remarry, to find a husband who could provide for them. But she refused. The memory of her beloved husband was too precious, and she would not abandon her son. A daring scheme took root in her mind. She would raise her son to become a scholar, to take his place among the great thinkers of the empire. No one must ever learn what she planned. It would be the secret buried in her heart, hidden even from her child. She sold her cottage, gathered her son, and journeyed toward the great city renowned for learning. Then she did the unthinkable. She discarded her woman's garments and dressed as a man. In old China, a woman alone faced impossible barriers to earning a living, but as a man, she could hold her own. She settled in a suburb outside the city walls and sought work. Her disguise was complete. Not even her son suspected that the father who raised him was not what he seemed. She carried loads as heavy as any man's. Employers preferred her, for she was civil, hard-working, and free from the profane language common among laborers. They never guessed her secret. Day after day, she hauled produce to market, earned her meager wages, and came home to feed and educate her son. She denied herself almost the very necessities of life, pouring every coin into his books, his tutors, his future. The years ground on, 20 of them. Her son grew into a fine young man, sharp-eyed and brilliant, poring over ancient classics by the light of a dim oil lamp. While other students slept, he memorized the words of sages. While other families prospered, his father toiled as a common porter, hunched and weathered, never complaining, carrying the weight of 2 lives upon bent shoulders. At last, the triennial examination arrived. Thousands of scholars gathered at the great examination hall, their hearts pounding, their futures hanging on the examiner's judgment. For 3 days, they wrote essays on the classics, pouring everything they had learned into careful brushstrokes on rice paper. When a final paper was collected, a vast silence fell over the waiting crowds. The son returned home, scarcely daring to breathe. Then one morning he came running home, his eyes blazing with joy, his words tumbling over each other. "Father," he cried, "I have passed, and not merely passed, but my name stands at the very top of the list." His voice cracked with excitement as he described how his name would flash across the province. His fortune was made, all because of his father's years of sacrifice. The son spoke on, glowing with visions of what lay ahead. Wealthy families would compete to hire him as a tutor. A government appointment would surely follow, bringing riches and honor. His father would live as a gentleman, respected by all. As the boy talked with the enthusiasm of youth, his parent watched with shining eyes, for a lifetime of wishing had finally come true. Then the son stopped. The laughter drained from his face, replaced by solemn gravity. "Father," he said, "I must know where my mother is buried. I must go to her grave and make the proper offerings, and tell her spirit how her son has prospered." He did not notice the deadly pallor that crept across his parent's face, or the despair that settled into those tired eyes. She was a true and noble woman with the highest ideals of how a woman should live. 20 years disguised as a man, moving freely among men, violating every code of propriety. Now the truth would come out, and she could not bear it. That night, she dressed in woman's clothes, arranged her hair with steady hands, and laid herself out for burial. At sunrise, her son found her. The story spread with lightning speed through every home in the city. The feeling was awe at the devotion and heroism of a mother who had sacrificed everything, even her identity, for her son. The emperor himself granted permission for a memorial arch, and its inscription was chosen with deliberate mystery.